So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, we are live, and what you saw before and what you're seeing now is a little bit of a sneak preview of what I'm working on for the Speculative Evolution project. So this strange, odd fellow is Lortub, and yeah, lives in tide pools, and it's gonna be pretty cool. It's gonna be pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. I actually streamed most of the creation of this guy on Top Hats Off. So if you want to keep track of how things are going with that, I'm probably going to be streaming a lot more of my my creature creation sessions on there. So if you head over there, you can more easily keep track of what's going on with the Speculative Evolution project. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for this. What up, Bent?
What up?
Bent, that is an amazing shirt and blanket you have there.
Oh yeah, I happened to pull this shirt out, top shirt in the drawer, on Saturday and then put it off to the side until today.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right.
And a little bit of heartburn though.
Uh-oh.
Might need a bunch of Tums today.
Well, you know what they say, every day ends in a Tums festival.
Every day ends with a Tums festival. That is what they say.
All right. Bob Knob is here, and you know what? We have a special message for Bob Knob.
Nice.
Bob Knob, happy birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Bob Knob.
There you
I think
go.
we can sing it. I don't know if it's copyrighted anymore. But...
I don't think it is, but we're just gonna not because of the sync problem.
I don't care about that.
I care a little bit. Today will end with a Tums Festival. No, every day ends with a Tums Festival.
Every day ends with a Tums Festival.
Yeah.
May or may not be a quote from a movie. That may or may not be what the thumbnail was based off of.
It's a pretty obscure movie if you're not into bad movies.
Yeah.
If you are into bad movies, it's not as obscure, but it's still actually not that well known. It's not like Troll 2 or The Room.
Right, but still, yeah. It's worth watching.
It is. It is.
So you can regret having watched it.
All right, but one quick thing before we get into the rules. We got rules that you don't have to follow.
Right.
So the one quick thing is that actually, I guess there's two quick things. So one first quick thing is check out Random Evo Time's channel if you have not already. He has some nice short-form content about evolution, some nice short-form content busting a few creationist claims, and he's also got some speculative evolution stuff. So if that's the kind of stuff you like, check him out. He's a up-and-coming youngster in the YouTube world, so there you go. And yes, Tesla Ranger, Tums is basically chalk, with flavoring and food color. So the second...
That's why it's so good.
The second one is... we are considering slightly adjusting the time that we start these. So we have a few different options, and later on I'll see what the audience thinks. Get you some time to think about it. But we're thinking about either perhaps moving my upload schedule forward a day and doing a Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday as our upload schedule, or maybe pushing Kent with Bent back a half an hour, so it would start at 5:30 Mountain Standard every day.
So 30 minutes earlier than it has been.
Yeah, so it's... Yeah. There are other options that we're considering, and this is because this time slot on Tuesday actually has been getting pretty busy on YouTube with a lot of other things going on that I know my audience would also like to see. And so I don't really want to run over into a lot of those things. So, yeah. So Monk Mayfair wants earlier than 6 PDT. So,
yeah. So that's based on what time I can reliably get home from work.
6 o'clock is easy.
And grab a bite to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
6 o'clock we can always guarantee, but
5:30
we can almost always guarantee, but you never.
It's risky. I guess in the way of your ribbon dancing lessons, that is crappy. Sorry about that, Bob Knob. I know how passionate you are about ribbon dancing. I remember that clearly from when we were in the Navy together.
Oh, yeah. It's all he ever talked about.
Basically. Especially while he wasn't doing those titrations.
Which was most of the time.
Alright. But that's enough of that. We're going to start talking about the rules. Because we got, unlike the streets where we ain't got no rules, we got rules.
Yeah, we got rules here. You have to follow them unless you don't want to.
Right. And in fact, we actually encourage that you do not follow them because you might die.
I prefer my variation of the rules.
Just drink non-alcohol.
Alcohol-free beverages.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so...
my liver also appreciates that.
So our rules are, this is a drinking game. So we drink whenever Kent gets something unironically right. And not unironically, but when he gets it right on his own and he's not just quoting someone else who got it right. If he actually says a true fact on his own, we take a drink. Because you know what? Cheers, Kent. You got something right. That is always our least frequent drink rule that we use. Another one is, if Kent says something just so stupid that we have to drink, well, then we have to drink it. We have to drink for it. Another one is, if Kent tells a joke and we don't actually even catch that it's a joke, or it falls completely flat, take a drink for that. We also drink whenever some of the Toho Kaiju come around, just like that. So we're going to take our first drink for Godzilla.
Yum.
But this also includes members who super chat with my Godzilla emoji. And by the way, if you want to see a Mothra emoji come up, I only need 3 more members, and I can add a Mothra emoji. So it starts at $1.99, so if you want to help see the Mothra emoji, consider it. Also, you don't have to consider it. You can just know. We don't need Mothra. But I'm just letting you know, if any of our... What am I looking at? That's hard to focus on.
It's not alcohol. It's a apple cider vinegar-based kombucha, I think.
Okay.
Probiotic drink.
So tempted to send 50 cents just to send to Godzilla Thrawn Meals? I mean, feel free to do it.
Do it.
I'm not going to stop you, and I'll drink for it. Like, yeah, that's the minimum to make me drink, is you send a Godzilla emoji, and boom. Actually, we have a few people on YouTube here who can get away with just any super chat, because they have, like, Godzilla or Mothra in their names, so... yeah. And the Great Stump, look, like I said, don't become a member if you can't afford it. Like, please don't. But, there you go. Let's get into it with Kent Hovind. I know, it's you're not looking forward to that, are you? We gotta do it, though.
It's what we're here for.
Yep. Alright, here we go.
Alright.
See, in evolution, billions of things have to die in order to make the process work. One animal evolves a little better than the rest of them have to die.
Yeah, so Kent seems to think that the way evolution works is that some beneficial trait will come along, and then as a result, everyone else dies. He's never clear on why. Now, that would result in evolution, right? But what actually happens is differential reproductive success. So, in differential... Oh, there's Godzilla. In differential reproductive success, what actually happens is that the beneficial trait, and it's beneficial for this reason, allows the organism to reproduce more than it otherwise would, and results in a larger number of surviving offspring who then themselves reproduce, and then those grandchildren reproduce. So the standard measure of fitness in evolutionary biology is number of grandchildren that survive to reproduce. Because if it's just the first generation, but then they are really bad at reproducing for various reasons, did that really count? And then there's the question of how far along do we want to go? Because eventually you might get to a situation where both so much evolution has taken place since then that you're not measuring that organism's fitness, and the environment may have changed so much that it's no longer fair. So what evolutionary biology has settled on, somewhat arbitrarily, is you don't take children, you take grandchildren who reproduce. Not how many they reproduce, just who reproduce. Now, granted, there are reasons to say that this has problems, and any measure that you pick is going to have problems. But that's our reasonable proxy for what is fit. And so, as you can tell, it's number of surviving grandchildren. it's not number of the rest of the population that went extinct, right, or died, or anything like that. All that matters is you have more kids than the other group, and then eventually those genetic traits will tend to predominate. So, but of course, I don't think Kent knows any of that.
Or the new improved genes are swamped back into the gene code.
That can be a problem in very large populations, Kent, but it's not always a problem.
They're lost. But there are people who teach, theistic evolution. The Bible says God's way is perfect. He made it right the first time. So I do not believe
Wait, what?
God
made it perfect the first time.
His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. That nowhere in there does it say he made it right the first time.
I would agree with you. I think that Kent is cherry-picking the Bible. But then again, that's fairly common. Oh, and hello, Ilya Moon. Ilya Moon is here, and she is wonderful. Ilya Moon is wonderful. So, everyone say hi to Ilya.
Hi, Ilya Moon.
Yep. Which reminds me, we gotta talk sometime, Ilya. We haven't talked in a bit.
We haven't talked in forever. In at least 13.8 billion years.
Alright, let's get some more Kent in. Oh, and Ilya, I don't mean that there's anything important. I just mean, I haven't talked in a while. Come say
We
hi
have
sometime.
to talk. It's important.
Okay, yeah, you have to talk to Bent too.
would use evolution to get us here, for several reasons. I think they're talking about a different God, okay? This is not the character of the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible doesn't do things that way, okay? The Bible says he made everything by his word and it was perfect. He made it all in 6 days. The Bible's real clear, and he rested on the seventh day. And he finished his works from the foundation of the world. So the Bible clearly teaches
Does that mean
6
I
days
was
of
made
creation,
in
rested
the first
the
6 days?
I guess it would. He's not very clear about what he means by everything. But one thing I will say is I'm not here to do biblical exegesis, right? Like, obviously, by the existence of the majority of Christians accepting evolution, most Christians have said that this is not the way you have to interpret this passage in Genesis. Like, it just isn't. So, I guess Kent wants to promote his version of
Well, he's
Genesis.
really intolerant to any other possible interpretation.
Yeah.
Any other way of thinking, he won't even acknowledge that it could ever make sense to anyone else.
Yeah, he does seem...
And
Yeah.
that's definitely not a good
Oh,
thing.
there's Godzilla. Alright, here we go.
Seventh day. Over and over it calls it the seventh day. And the Bible says real clearly that man brought death into the world. If theistic evolution is true, then death brought man into the world. Or death was here before man arrived, and the Bible says clearly man brought death into the world. And the Bible says we're made in God's image. So if the original created man was some kind of animal that slowly evolved, then what does God look like? Is he a baboon? The fourth thing to consider, I think it's a...
Okay, I'm gonna drink real quick. Okay. I drank for that because Kent can't even understand the traditional Christian understanding of Imago Dei, right? Okay, so I know I say I don't care about interpretation, but here's the thing. Kent is being intentionally obtuse about the Imago Dei, which is the image of God. It's the Latin phrase. It's the phrase that usually gets used in Christian theology circles. So, because God, until the incarnation, according to Christian theology, had no physical form you could point to, which is also something pretty well supported in both the Old and the New Testaments. The Imago Dei couldn't simply be that God looks like a human, and he made humans so that he looks like humans, or so that they look like God, right? The Imago Dei is more of a spiritual and intellectual thing. For instance, humans have the capacity to create art out of representational art, or even to invent new things. So they have this creative capacity. They have a capacity to have a sense of justice, compassion, fairness, that is, at the very least, diminished in other animals, right? So, that is what has traditionally, and by traditionally, I mean going all the way back to like the 2nd century, that has been the typical interpretation of what the Imago Dei is, because anything else implies that God is in himself some kind of physical entity that looks like a dude. But that was the whole point. Oh, there's Mothra. But the whole point of the Mosaic ban on idolatry was that God wasn't some dude that you could just make a statue of. He was immaterial and above having a body. So the other thing is that the reason that eventually the iconodules won out over the iconoclasts during the iconoclast heresy, or actually it was a controversy, it wasn't a heresy, whatever, I don't really care, was simply because of it affirming that after the incarnation, now you could draw a picture of Jesus, who is God, because he was some dude. I mean, a very particular and important dude to Christianity, but that was the point. So by just glibly saying that if God had made creatures through evolution, and he made man in his image, and man is descended from apes, that God looked like a baboon, Kent is betraying essentially 2,000 years worth of careful thinking by Christian theologians as to what this phrase means, and instead he's going with literally the dumbest interpretation that it is possible to have.
And he's oblivious to it.
Oh yeah. I honestly think that Kent Hovind might actually think that God is an old bearded dude who lives up in the sky on a cloud.
Kent Hovind watched Star Trek V and thought it was a documentary.
What does God need with a starship?
Well, if God says he needs it, then he needs it.
Actually,
You scoffer.
Star Trek V is my least favorite Star Trek movie of the original.
I like it. I don't care. I like it.
It's fine if you like it.
I like all of them, even 3.
So see, I actually put 3 much higher than most people do. I really like 3.
Oh, really?
I think Christopher Lloyd did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Retarded God that can't make it right first time. He's not worthy of worship, that's for sure. And it certainly, number 4, nullifies the need for the death of Christ.
What?
And fifthly, and most importantly probably, there's no evidence for evolution anyway. So why should we take a perfectly good Bible, which has never been proven wrong, and compromise it with a stupid theory that's never been proven right?
All right, so every success... Okay, take a quick drink. Yeah, Wrath of Khan is the best movie? I think that's reasonable.
Sure, but it's The Voyage Home.
I think my favorite are...
You're allowed to say 2, but it's full.
I think my order goes 2, 4, 6, 3, 1, 5. As far as my favorite to least favorite. 2, 4, 6, 3, 1, 5. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I'm not saying
I still like all of them.
Yeah, I like them all, but I like 5 at the least.
I subjectively like all of them. That doesn't mean they're all good.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
They're all good because I like them.
Old Star Trek movies, greater even. Yeah. I mean, there was some good stuff. Space whales. Well, they weren't space whales. They were whales who were talking to space aliens. So they were only space whales during the time that they were on the Klingon ship that they had stolen. Which, by the way, we might have to figure out what kind of ship we want on if we do the Star Trek RPG where we're all Klingons. Klingons. I could just design a new one. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I entirely forgot what Kent Hovind was saying, but it was stupid.
I don't remember.
Whatever. We got distracted by Star Trek. Actually, I went on a Star Trek rant on my On Top Hats Off earlier today. How much I hate the new Star Trek stuff. It's terrible.
Oh, because of how horrible it is?
Yeah, it's terrible. And it doesn't feel like Star Trek at all.
Everything about evolution is backwards to the Bible. Every single thing. Nothing matches. You can look at the...
Oh, I remember what he said. He said, nothing in the Bible has been proven wrong, and nothing about evolution has been proven right. Now, look, I know of people who can interpret the Bible in some random way, and you can say, maybe that's post hoc rationalization. I don't really care. There are people who can interpret the Bible in non-dumb ways. However, the Bible, according to Kent, has been proven wrong. It's basically fractally wrong. Kent's interpretation of the Bible, if that's the correct interpretation of the Bible, it makes the Bible like fractally wrong. You could literally sit forever and come up with new reasons why his interpretation cannot possibly be true. On the other hand, every single prediction of evolutionary biology, of which there are millions that have been proven right, and there are thousands that are proven right every single day, because almost every single biological observation that is ever made anywhere in the world was in fact one that was predicted, or at least can be retrodicted, from evolutionary biology. There are extremely few biological observations that are not a prediction of evolutionary biology. And Vandalia 1998 for $5 says, I don't know if Voyage Home is the best, but it was the funniest. Hello, computer. Use the keyboard. Keyboard, how quaint. Yeah, that was a good scene. I also like how he's like, we traveled millions of miles. And then there's Bones. Bones is like thousands. He's like, thousands of miles. Oh, that was great.
That's like the LDS comment instead of LSD.
Oh, yes. I also like the scene where there's the punk rocker with the boombox, and he's playing it way too loud, and Spock just nerve pinches him. Yeah, there were some really good scenes in that. Also, I love the excuse for why Spock is wearing a bandana or something is because he got caught in farm equipment when he was a boy, and he has scars now. It's just like, you could just say he's a hippie or something crazy like that, right? Like, what? Yeah, it's a fun movie. Unfortunately, Kent Hovind isn't as much fun, but he's fun when you drink about the stupid.
Chart there and see everything's back.
He is.
Well, yes. All right, so let's see. Does the Bible match evolution? I don't know why we're numbered 7 through 12, but let's see. We've got plans before. It doesn't matter. He's going to tell us.
The Bible says man brought death into the world. Evolution says death brought man into the world. The Bible says God created man. Evolution says man created God. Does evolution match the Bible? Absolutely not. It is a heresy to teach God used evolution. And a heresy is something against the clear teaching of Scripture. And I think there are people who are heretics today. I debated Hugh Ross, Reasons to Believe. He's written several books. I've got several of them right here. Creator in the Cosmos, Creation in Time, The Genesis Solution, Creation in Time. He is a very nice man, a very smart man, and probably sincere, and probably really honestly loves the Lord in his own way.
You know what? I think that counts as Kent getting something right, because everything I've ever heard from anyone about Hugh Ross is that he's an absolutely wonderful guy. And I know more than one person who's actually personally spoken to Hugh Ross. So.
And to Hugh Ross.
And to Hugh Ross. Yeah, we'll take a drink for Hugh. Hugh and I disagree on a bunch of things, and I would love to actually have a debate with him, honestly, which I might actually be able to do, because like I said, I know someone who knows him personally. But I feel like if I had a debate with Hugh Ross, I would almost feel bad about attacking his positions, because everything I've ever seen about Hugh Ross makes him out to be just an outstanding human being overall. So, I don't know. It would probably be more of a friendly discussion with Hugh Ross. For one thing, he's big on saying, hey, astronomy disproves young Earth creationism. There is just no there. There's nothing about young Earth creationism that works at all. And that's because he's a legitimate astronomer. He does actual work in astronomy.
Nice.
Yeah.
BS in physics, PhD in astronomy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's a legitimate astronomer who actually does work in the field. Unlike people like Jason Lyles, who's a fake astronomer.
I do think he has a different God than I do, and I suspect that he's probably not a Christian in the biblical sense. He's got a mental acceptance of Christ, but not repentance and faith. That's just my theory.
So Hugh Ross is a dirty sinner because he disagrees with Kent Hovind about the Bible. I mean...
Kent? Doesn't the Bible say, judge not, lest ye be judged?
It does have that in there. Oh, wait.
Kent, come on, man.
You're having fried chicken, Bob? Oh, man. Watching Cabaret for my COVID-restricted B-Day dinner. Nice. All right, well, catch you on the flip, man. Dinkum flicka.
Fleece it out.
Yeah, well, we're going to fleece it out as we Gormok 5.
These four things right here, ham, chicken, ribs, turkey, what do they all have in common?
You cooked them? I mean, they're
all
from amniotes. They're all presented with some kind of plant matter for human consumption.
They are delicious.
Yeah, they're all delicious. I like all of them. I don't know. Let's hear what Kent has to say.
All meats, they're all edible, and they all have bones in them.
Yeah?
You have to learn early in life to eat the meat and spit out the bones, or you're going to choke on something, okay?
Kent Hovind's never heard of marrow.
Come on, man.
Although I will say his list of what those have in common was actually accurate, so we'll take a drink.
Sure. I couldn't hear for a while, and now I can. Can you hear me now?
All right. Sorry about that. I had my OBS studio disconnect, and I'm not sure why. Also, I had we had Bent Hovind also disconnected, but we should be back now.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Do you have the watch page up?
Everything's up.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. I think we just had an internet hiccup. Oh, happened again.
Are we having World Wide Web problems?
We might be. I just keep dropping all these frames. Oh, we're getting data back. Okay, look guys, if this keeps happening, we might just have to call it. I'm sorry. But we also have $5 from Vandalia1998, who says, take the steel beam out of your eye cant before you try to take the splinter out of the other guy's eye. Yeah. Okay, so, I'm hoping that that was just a temporary thing. Nope, doesn't look like it. F.
I can hear you at least.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll give it a three strikes and we're out. So if we get another big drop, I'll just have to.
You're just dropping frames?
Oh, I have dropped 1,050 frames.
Thanks a lot, legs.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's go.
There we go. From Desseldrace asks, are you going to be go to Erica's Jackson after show? I'm going to ask them if they want me there. I have not seen the debate, so I don't know how appropriate that is. But I certainly will not be going to Top Hats Off to stream again because, well, Erica's busy, and if I'm not on the air, but Erica is, you should be watching Erica because her content is really good. So. Here we go. Let's get a little more Kent in.
All kinds of questions, and we've got the whole thing. John Ankerberg Show taped it for us. And John Ankerberg now is a believer that the Earth is billions of years old. And he's a friend of mine, nice guy, but I think that is pure heresy to teach that. In his book, Genesis Solution, right here, here's his testimony. He was a teenager reading through the Bible. He said, 18 months later, I arrived at Revelation 22. In other words, I finished the Bible. During those months, I read every passage and failed to discover anything I could honestly label as an error or contradiction. Some parts I had trouble understanding, but that didn't bother me. I understood enough, just as I understood enough physics and astronomy to trust what I was learning in my university courses. He was studying astronomy, and he became an astronomer in Canada, okay? PhD in astronomy. Now at the bottom he says, with some more delays and a little more wrestling with personal pride, I did make a transfer of trust, inviting God, the creator of the vast cosmos, to be my God, the master of my destiny through Jesus Christ, his Son. Now, does that mean he got saved? I don't know. It looks to me, from what he still believes, that he has a mental acceptance of Christ. He is like, I would consider, a Catholic bishop or a pope who probably very sincere, very dedicated, and just simply doesn't understand repentance and faith. This is more of a mental acceptance.
Ken, if you wanted to look at a group that takes sin more seriously than the Catholic Church, I want you to tell me which one it is. Because every Catholic and ex-Catholic I know ends up being riddled with guilt for every minor little activity. Like, it's one of the hallmarks of Catholicism, is instilling a deep sense of guilt over almost any kind of wrongdoing. It's like, oh, no repentance there. Oh my goodness. Here's some cash for better internet from Bent Hovind for $2 with a Godzilla emoji.
Oh yeah!
Someone was thirsty.
Someone's thirsty.
Especially since you know how to get us to drink without spending money.
Do I?
Yes.
But your internet needs to be better.
Oh! There's Godzilla. Oh, there's Mothra.
This is good.
Goodness. All right. Well, thank you there, Toho Kaiju. Now I wonder, do we let other kaiju in? Like if someone's like Gauss or Gamera or something? Can we?
Well, I'll just assume you're asking the chat, and that they just said yes. So yes.
I realize, yeah, you probably never heard of any other Daikaiju films besides the Godzilla franchise, huh?
Even then,
it was suggested we do War of the Gargantuas on what is it, the Seabat show? And while War of the Gargantuas doesn't feature Godzilla, that movie is at least in the Heisei continuity of Godzilla. Or actually, no, it's in one of the Millennium continuities, I think. But it's in a Godzilla continuity.
I want to focus on public domain movies.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because then we can show them without.
It is better that way. All right, here we go. More.
You gotta watch with us, you know. So.
More Kent.
Rather than a real salvation experience, I think. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I don't know who's going to heaven and who's not. I'm not saying he's going to hell. But I suspect he's not a Christian in the biblical sense, okay? I've got a whole series. I debated Hugh Ross for 3 hours, and then we made a bunch of post-debate comments, and that's all available on our video series about the Hugh Ross debate. There's a great book by Jonathan Sarfati about Hugh Ross's heresies. Now, Sarfati's a brilliant guy. He lives in Australia, and I love reading his stuff. I think he's wrong on a couple things, you know. Certainly his thinking about the King James is wrong, but we can deal with that some other time.
Okay.
It's possible to believe in God and still not be saved. James 2:19 says the devils believe and tremble. They believe. They're not saved. They have a head knowledge, but not a heart knowledge. Matthew 7, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven.
I'm not sure if you have either.
Not everybody who claims it.
Yeah. Oh, Godzilla. Is that Bob Knob? I'm going to see if it's Bob Knob. It's been Bob Knob at least once. No, that was... I think it was. Alright, so actually, so Monk Mayfair said, Kaiju Watch Party with Dapper Dino and Ben Tovin. No relation, yes please. I'm actually open to that. I wouldn't mind going to the fan Discord server, jumping in like one of the general, like the general voice chat or something, and screen sharing a Godzilla movie. Maybe we'll have a poll or something. You know what I'll do? I'll set up a straw poll at some point, and I'll drop it into like the announcements. And then anyone who's on the fan server, which means go join the Dapper Dino fan server, you can vote in the straw poll. And then we'll watch whichever Godzilla movie wins the straw poll. And I might exclude a few of them, like Godzilla's Revenge, which is just terrible. We're not watching the 1998 movie with Matthew Broderick. Only going to be watching...
The one that you usually don't acknowledge exists?
Exactly.
Is it the worst one?
It's hard to say. It might not be worse than Godzilla's Revenge.
Okay.
The movie that actually contains less than a minute of original Godzilla footage. Yeah.
Okay.
It barely even counts as a Godzilla movie.
They're a Christian, really is. Okay. What about some of the other religions? I think theistic evolution probably would be a false religion as opposed to a branch of Christianity. But there are quite a few other religions. I'm going to cover a lot of this in our...
Yeah, it's a subset of some religions, right? It is people who are theists who accept evolution. They're not all Christians, but it's also not a branch of Christianity.
Kent has no idea what a religion is. He really doesn't have a clue.
No, he doesn't. Well, I mean, he doesn't have a clue what anything is.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
College class, so I'm going to skip most things for now. I won't cover them all now, just to hit a few highlights. But
oh, he's talking about his CSE 101. That's Creation Science Evangelism 101. I think that's what we're going to do after we finish with this seminar, because it's the deep dive into Hovindism.
Nice.
Yeah.
In our college class in the 200 series, we will cover a lot of other religions. I mean, there's a lot.
Oh, the great sum. I want to point out, it's not less than 1 minute of Godzilla. It's less than 1 minute of original Godzilla. There's a lot of Godzilla in it, actually. It's just all clips taken from previous Toho movies. Like, Bent, have you seen... Oh, no, we haven't seen the Son of Godzilla. That's the next one we're going to watch, right?
Yeah, if we didn't watch it, then I haven't seen it.
So, it takes a lot of stuff just lifted straight out of Son of Godzilla and puts it into dream sequences. Godzilla isn't technically in that movie.
Okay.
It's all dream sequences from a little boy who's a Godzilla fan. So it doesn't even take place in the universe of Godzilla. it takes place in the quote-unquote real world where Godzilla is a film franchise, and this little kid has fantasies about Godzilla.
All right.
It is terrible. It's one of the reasons I'm not even sure I count it as a Godzilla movie, because technically Godzilla isn't actually in it. It's one of the same big reasons I don't like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, is because the car actually can't do any of these things. It's just wild stories being told by the dad to his kids.
There's reasons I don't care for that movie, and they are really just one reason, and that it is really boring.
Well, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, is Bigfootism a religion too? Now, here's some spoilers. I'm actually in the planning stages of doing a Bigfoot video, which might be a collaboration with some other YouTuber. We might be going into some crazy stuff on Bigfoot and the Patterson-Gimlin film and whatnot. So, and if you haven't seen the Patterson-Gimlin film, like, I don't believe that Godzilla is real. I also have no good explanation for that film. So, if it's not Godzilla, I don't know what the other options really are. So, I'm going with Kent.
The religions out there, who's right? Well, obviously, the independent Baptists are right. You know, when you get done climbing the mountain of truth, that's, you know, fine. That they're sitting there all along. Did you figure that out yet, Derek? That the independent Baptists are the ones that are.
Okay, apparently Erica just showed me that I just said that I better show up at the after show. So apparently I am going to be at the after show. So fair enough. Erica has spoken, and I must obey. You don't want to anger the gibbon.
No, you don't.
Right, you're
it's
not
hard
quite there yet. You're still climbing? Still climbing, okay. So I'm not against other religions. I'm simply for truth and against error. And if the Catholics teach something that is right...
You're for error and against truth.
Yeah, basically. And the thing is, I don't even think that he's sincere in his beliefs at this point. Like, I've seen too much that he has to know is complete nonsense. Wait, is this a good tie? This is actually a pretty good tie. Some dinosaurs, some palm trees. I like the tie, Kent. I always like Kent's, like, sort of goofy ties. It's one of the few things I genuinely and unironically like about Kent, is he has some cool ties. Or at least he had. Those all probably belong to Eric Hovind now. Which is why he's trying to sue Eric. I don't think he's going to win, but he's trying.
I'll say, yay, you're right. If my mother teaches something that is right or wrong, I'll say, yeah, that's right, that's wrong. You don't ever want to get committed to a denomination or committed to any one thing other than truth. So I'm for truth and against error. And the Bible says in Ephesians, you got to be careful about being carried away with every wind of doctrine. When religions differ on things, if
you're just so oblivious, like all these things apply to you.
Yep, far more than they do to Hugh Ross.
Kent, you are the scoffer. You are the scoffer.
Vesta Frey points out, never anger the gibbon because they will throw crap at you when they are upset with you. It's true.
Kent, every day ends with a Tums festival.
Also, you know what? Here's something that I would like to point out, right? So, as far as I know, the only animals in the entire world that are known to actually throw things are hominoids, which are basically like, or simiiformes, which is like basically the monkeys. If you're not a monkey, you don't throw things. One possible exception is elephants, but it's not clear that they're actually throwing or whether or not they're simply thrashing objects violently and then sometimes releasing them mid-swing without any real intention as to where it's going to go. So elephants might throw things, it's a little up in the air, but monkeys clearly can throw things. And guess what the monkey with the best aim is?
Probably Justin Verlander.
Is that a particular person?
Or like Aaron Rodgers.
I meant species.
Oh, human.
Yes, Homo sapiens is by far the thrower with the best aim. It's actually one of the few things physically that humans are exceptional at. We're exceptional long-distance runners, and we're also exceptional throwers. And we also have an exceptional amount of dexterity in our hands. And that's, or well, your hands. Corporal, so it's Corporal not, just called Paul Price a turbo virgin. I don't even know what that means. Did I ever watch the Netflix Godzilla CGI anime? Yes, I did. I thought they were pretty good as movies. I feel like they were not giving everyone what they really wanted from a Godzilla cartoon, though. Because in a Godzilla cartoon, what I want to see is an absurd amount of kaiju battling with no requirements as to what we can show because of constraints of land, things like what you can actually film. Because you're all animated, It was actually CGI, but it was cell shaded, so it looked a lot like 2D animation. But it's entirely animated. You have no constraints. You can do whatever you want. And what they did with it was mostly have Godzilla stand around. And I was like, I wish it had gone in a slightly more traditional way. But I also appreciate like the sci-fi elements, the whole post-apocalyptic sense, and the time dilation stuff going on. And Earth has evolved to adapt to the dominance of Godzilla, and that was all cool stuff. I also wish Mothra had more of a role, because mostly it was a Mothra egg, and then there was a Mothra in a vision, kind of. It was a little weird, so, you know, I have mixed feelings. Overall, I like them, though, and they're on our list for me and Bent to watch eventually, is the Godzilla anime trilogy on Netflix. But, yeah, you're gonna have to watch Godzilla anime.
Must be wrong. Of course, maybe they're both wrong. But at least one of them has to be wrong, okay, if there's a difference. So, he that cometh first in his own cause seemeth just, it says in Proverbs. And a young person, the first time they hear somebody talk about a religion, they say, oh, well, that sounds good. Well, you better search it out. I remember the first time I heard the teachings of the Jehovah's Witness. I was a brand new Christian. I got reading some of their stuff. I said, wow, that seems right. Until I studied it. Wow, that's not right.
I will say this. Every time someone introduces you to their own religion, they're going to make it sound as nice as possible. So I'll take a drink. Kent is technically true. Every time someone starts with a religious spiel, they always make it sound good. And in many cases, it's not as good as it sounds. In fact, the Jehovah's Witnesses, that's one of those. Because I am not going to be political or, politique about it. The Jehovah's Witnesses are a destructive and dangerous cult. Do not join. If you have currently joined, and you are for some reason watching this, which, by the way, according to teachings of your religion, you shouldn't be. If you are, leave. There are people you can reach out to. There are networks of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who will help you. Some of them will even be willing to give you a place to stay after you're kicked out, because you almost certainly will be. You can find a support network amongst ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. They are out there. You can find them online. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and for some reason you're watching this, it already means you're probably on your way out. Don't worry. You can get out and survive. There is life after this. Yes, your family will cut you off. But you will continue to have a life.
Steal a new family. I mean, yeah.
Heck, if you reach out to me for help, I will see what I can do. And even if I can't directly help you, I will try to help you find someone who can. If you're trying to get out of a cult, I'm right there behind you. And Vesta Freya, don't worry about which word you use. The chat, I let the chat be somewhat harder rated than I let the actual Kent with Ben be.
So that's the danger. Any young person can be trapped, because the first time you hear something, oh, wow, that sounds good. You better really search it out. We had, here on staff, one of the guys had a book that he was giving out, to everybody, and it sounded really good, but it was written by some of the heretics of the first century. I said, well, you better really study this out. It seems right at first until you say, oh, wait a minute, is that true?
I want Kent to name these heretics of the first century. Also, for $4.99, we have from Eric Vierthaler 92, I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and maybe a leaving Jehovah's Witness video. And how's everybody's day going? So my day is going pretty well. I have, let's see. This guy has finished. So this is the 2K version of this image. So there's that. That's the lore tub. I'm going to save it later. So there's that. I finished that. We're doing Kent with Bent. And also, Eric, that would actually probably be interesting. A drink for Godzilla. Although I'm not entirely sure my channel is the right place for it, because there are channels like the John Cedars channel or Telltale that are much more centered around... They're much bigger, for one thing, and they're also much more centered around leaving Jehovah's Witnesses and the problems with the JWs and stuff like that. So you might want to reach out to them and see if they would be willing to have an interview about that. Because those are two explicitly anti-JW and, channels run by former Jehovah's Witnesses. So I would think that those might be a better venue just for your story to get out there. just because, I mean, they have bigger platforms, and that's the goal of their content. Whereas it's a very secondary thing for me is that stuff. It's not really anything I focus on in my actual content normally. So check with them first, I would say, just for both your sake, and I think it would be good content for them. And I generally like their content. Not all of it, but not everything is for everyone. So
it's interesting, if you read Genesis 27, Jacob and Esau, you know, how Jacob tricked his father. The father went by the feeling instead of by the word. He said, you sound like Jacob, but you feel like Esau. So he gave him Esau's blessing. And the reason he got tricked is precisely because he went by the feeling. The Mormons will tell you they know they're right because when they prayed about Mormonism, they got a burning in the bosom. They got a feeling, oh, wow, this feels right. Well, just kneeling down and praying to anything will give you that burning feeling.
Kent is actually right about that. That's a fairly well-known psychological phenomenon. So I'm going to take a drink for Kent being right. And we have for $2.99 redos, Ian Chen. Hi, Dabs. Hi, Ben. Well, hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Hope you're having
Thanks for that gift.
Hope you're having a good day. Oh, there's Godzilla. Oh, what did Ian get you? Was it the rocks were there?
It's a book by Jackson Wheat and RJ.
Must be the rocks are there then.
It's the rocks were there.
Yeah, it's really cool. In fact,
it's over there. You probably can't see it right now, but
I don't think I can see it.
Right over there.
Also, T-Lane got me some new cell phone screen protectors because mine was cracked and broken, and it had been sitting on my wish list for since I created it. And I was like, it's odd that people buy me like expensive books and like model kits, but then there's like a $5 screen protector that's been on there forever and no one's bothered with it. So, and then T-Lane was like, oh, quick, I'll send it to you. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. That wasn't actually why I was saying this, but I'll take it. So, yeah, search your feelings. You know it to be true. Yeah, basically, Mormonism is the Palpatine of religions.
Oh, and just a reverence of kneeling down praying to this rock. That doesn't mean it's right, okay? And that's their whole thinking. It's all based on feeling. A lot of the charismatics do the same stuff. You know, they have this feeling like, oh.
Mormons don't, but he's making the point that if you were to do that same thing that the Mormons say about the Book of Mormon and the teachings of the Latter-day Saints, and you get the warm, fuzzy feeling, you would also get it doing the same thing to just some random rock, which is actually true.
Okay.
And then for $2.99, don't worry, Bent. Have I on a. Or he's got his eye on a Hawaiian shirt for you. Well, there you go. You might be getting a Hawaiian shirt. You could adopt the current look that your Uncle Kent, no relation, has. The Hawaiian shirts.
I don't know why I put those on there. I just wear t-shirts.
You're gonna start
what we need is a Hawaiian shirt that says Dapper Dino on it. That's what we need.
Is there one? I don't know does Teespring do Hawaiian shirts?
I don't think so.
They started doing masks now. I should add a mask.
Time to find out.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Wow, I just feel like I should, do this. We got the demonstration in the Science Center about you blindfold the person on the chair that spins. Any of you ever done that thing? Sit down there, get blindfolded, spin you around. Within 30 seconds, you feel like you're not spinning, even though you still are. And then when you stop the person, they feel like they're turning the other way, even though they're not turning at all. And that's how pilots crash their planes, because they go by their feelings and not by what does the gauge say. So, I am not anti any other religion. I'm simply for truth and for the Bible and against error. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, but if you've defined all other religions as wrong, then you're anti those religions, Kent. That follows.
He doesn't even know what he's saying.
No, he doesn't. Yes, it's true. Dapper Dino merch does make you look dapper. You don't even need to have the actual top hat or monocle or tie yourself. I mean, look at that t-shirt. Ben, can you give everyone a nice view of that t-shirt? Look at that.
Pretty great.
It's beautiful. The Dapper Dino.
Doesn't fade when you wash it.
No,
it's great.
It's actually really... So Teespring is a little on the expensive side, and I have to make it even a little bit more expensive just so I get anything out of it. But the t-shirts are actually the lowest priced items as far as like my share of it. And they're really high quality. So yeah, it's good stuff. If you want a Dapper Dino t-shirt, and they're not as much as some t-shirts I've seen. Like I've seen some t-shirts where they want like $50 for like a brand, like a band or something, right? How much was that t-shirt?
Oh, I'd have to check what it says on the web zone.
Yeah, well, it's not. It wasn't like $40 though, was it?
No, it was probably like $25 or
Yeah.
35.
Oh, there's Mothra.
And
I
you
think I
gotta be
got
careful
the
about
premium
going on
key,
feeling.
so that's $20.
Yeah. The $20 gets you a high quality t-shirt. So if you want one, feel free.
Thanks. What about the Sabbath? Well, I get asked probably every week. I get books sent to me. I've got a whole section of our library by probably every book ever written by any Seventh-day Adventist, and they're all trying to convert me over to being a Seventh-day Adventist. And they send me all kinds of stuff, and don't send me any more. I've already got them all, okay? I don't need any more. I've got lots of books, all the books by Ellen G. White, E.G. White, okay, who wrote, and she was the prophetess of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'm not anti-Seventh-day Adventist. I've spoken at some of their churches. And there's a lot of good folks, love the Lord, genuinely saved, going to heaven as much as I am. But what is the truth about the Sabbath? Are we supposed to, work on the seventh, rest on the seventh day? Is that the day of worship or the day of rest? Or what is the truth about the Sabbath? Well, Nehemiah chapter 9, it says, Thou camest down upon Mount Sinai, and spakest with them from heaven, and gavest them right judgments, true laws, good statutes, and madest known unto them thy holy Sabbath. Wait a minute, this is Nehemiah talking about the time Moses received the Sabbath from God. That's 2,500 years after the creation. See, I don't have Moses even on that chart, but 2,500 years after the creation, God made the Sabbath known to Moses. You mean for 2,500 years, for more than a third of human history, nobody kept this? Apparently so.
Why is
He revealed it to Moses. He said in Exodus 16, See that the Lord hath given you the seventh day, every man abide in his place.
Okay, but Kent, you think that Adam wrote the first few chapters of... I'm gonna drink, because this is just stupid. Kent, because he's an idiot, thinks that Adam wrote the first few chapters of Genesis, and that, like, Abraham wrote the next few chapters, or something crazy like that, and Noah wrote a few chapters too. So, if Adam is responsible for writing Genesis 1 and 2, which Kent Hovind thinks he is, and those writings were preserved, then that means that people had to know about therefore the Lord rested on the seventh day. Because that's the explanation God is giving here. It's because as God worked for 6 days and rested on the seventh, so should you. So even in Kent's own internal logic, the Sabbath was known about. Like, people knew that there was a seventh rest day that God took. Now, was it a commandment at that point? No, but it's not like it was a mystery. It's not like Noah or Moses was going to be surprised. Like, there's a something about the seventh day? I've never heard of anything like that. Even in the narrative of the Old Testament, of the Pentateuch, when God reveals it, he explicitly couches it in terms of the Creation Week narrative, which means Moses would have had to have already been familiar with the 7-day creation narrative in the context of the story itself. Nothing about what Kent is saying here is actually making sense about the Sabbath. And look, I don't care what day you keep the Sabbath, because I don't comment on it. But don't be internally incoherent about why you keep the Sabbath when you do.
If you do at all.
I mean, yeah, there you go.
Don't go out of your house on the Sabbath day. Well, if that's really one of the laws for the Sabbath, then you can't have a seventh-day church that meets someplace because everybody's going out of their house to get there. Right? They talk about a Sabbath day's journey in Acts chapter 1. Jesus traveled on the Sabbath, okay? What's he doing out of his house? The Bible says, Remember the Sabbath, in it thou shalt not do any work. Don't you do it, nor your son, nor your maidservant, nor the stranger. Not only can you not work, you can't make anybody else work. Which means if you really want to honor and obey the Sabbath according to Scripture, you cannot work and you can't make anybody else work, which means you cannot use any utilities. Because if you're using the city water, the city lights, the city gas, you're making somebody work. If you're watching TV, you're making somebody work on the Sabbath. If you go out to eat, you're making somebody work. You can't do that. So, he rested the seventh day. The Bible says if they worked on the seventh day, Exodus 31, they'd be put to death. So you got to kill people that work on the Sabbath. It's punishable by death. Exodus 31 is a key passage on this. The Lord said unto Moses, Speak thou unto the children of Israel, saying, My Sabbaths ye shall keep. It is a sign between me and you. The children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. I mean, it's right there, Exodus 31. It's pretty clear. The Sabbath was for the children of Israel. You're starting a fire. The Bible says in Mark chapter 2, the Pharisee said, Why do you do that which on the Sabbath which is not lawful?
All right, this is what Kent Hovind's saying. Literally kill people who do anything on the Sabbath or make anyone work on the Sabbath.
I mean, if
For
you were
whatever
to take
reason,
that passage
this is what Ken
seriously,
Hogan
yeah.
is saying right now.
But I'm skipping through the Sabbath stuff. I just don't care. Also, we're gonna have to take a break soon because my drink is mostly just now the melted ice. So.
$. For the book. We offer it. We don't sell it on the web. It is briefly comprehended in this saying, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself."
Oh, we have a $14.99 super chat from Eric Virthaler92 who says, on Saturday, I did a video chat with a mom and her kid who's in the hospital singing him happy birthday. I wore a Batman costume because he's a Batman fan, and I did the Christian Bale Batman voice. Well, that's awesome, man.
And you did that voice very well because I watched that
Actually,
video.
can you, Ben, can you link that?
If I can find it, I'd have to go back on...
Is it on your YouTube channel, Eric? If it's on your YouTube channel, let us know. If it's on Facebook, I mean, we can try to find it.
He didn't list the Sabbath here in Romans 13. First day of the week in 16 on the first day, despite what they say,
How long is he
haven't
talking
really
about
studied
Sabbath?
theology. I don't know how a nun can be that. This Catholic nun have several times. The popes have accepted evolution and many drink or holy days or
I
the
guess that's
Sabbath.
where he's
Don't let
getting
anybody
over.
tell you you're wrong on that. Okay. People say, well, didn't the Pope accept evolution? Yes, they have several times. The popes have accepted evolution and many people have gotten upset. There have been at least 3 or 4, I think, articles about the popes have accepted evolution as a fact. This Catholic nun said, people who believe this creation myth, which is unscientific and not in the Bible, despite what they say, haven't really studied theology. I don't know how a nun can be that dumb.
I mean, I've met nuns. They can be just as stupid as anyone else. But that nun doesn't show any evidence of being dumb.
If you don't think the creation story's in the Bible, what is she reading? Okay?
No, she doesn't think your version of the creation story is intrinsic to the Bible, Kent. There's a difference.
By the way, you want to do some interesting study. Read the 10 Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, and then go to any Catholic church and say, hey, do you guys have the 10 Commandments? Oh yeah, they'll give you a copy of them. They left out the second one.
No, they didn't, Kent. They folded it into the first, and then took the last, or what you could call the last, and split it in 2. Because the thing is, the 10 Commandments aren't so ambiguously split into 10. Because the whole don't covet your neighbor's wife and don't covet your neighbor's property are pretty easy to split. On the other hand, don't have any other gods before me and don't have any graven images are pretty easy to lump. Or you could split both of them and have 11 commandments, which actually I think is a more reasonable thing to do, is to just split them all and have 11 commandments. But 10 is a nice round number, so people like it. So basically the difference is you guys lump together 2 commandments and the Catholics lump together 2 other commandments. It's literally the entire thing. But it is intermission time because my drink is basically just water now, and there's no point to that, right? Who wants to drink water? Ben, you're learning Klingon. Do you know the Klingon word for water?
Nope.
Oh, it's bip.
I'll get there.
That was actually a really good pronunciation. I'm impressed.
I've been practicing.
Wow. So in case you guys,
Klingon.
in case you guys don't know, there's a new Star Trek Adventures role-playing game book that's coming out, and it's actually a supplemental core rulebook. And it's just for playing as a crew of Klingons, and so we're thinking about trying to get a game together where the players actually speak a lot of Klingon as dialogue in that. It'd probably end up on Top Hats Off. So, that could be fun.
And I'm learning it, and I'm horrible at it.
Well, everyone's horrible when they first start, but let's see.
Yeah. I'll get there.
Oh, and Tesla Ranger said bit, but that's wrong. It's bit. So you gotta capitalize it the right way in Klingon, which is kind of stupid, and I wish that's not how it were. But that debate was settled like decades ago amongst the Klingon language enthusiast community. So it's not gonna change. It is how it is. But all right, here is the intermission video.
I want to take a moment to talk about something serious. There is a problem facing late surviving non-avian dinosaurs in modern America. Hunting is very strictly regulated, and only allowed at certain times of the year. This means that for much of the year we have to rely on farm-raised food, which means money. If you want to help a starving dinosaur, please consider donating on Patreon or buying from my merch store. Links are in the description. Please help. Dinosaurs all over YouTube are depending on you to help them through the hunting off-season.
Oh, Nani? Dare? Oh, Ujira desu ka? Hai, Gojira-san. Hai. Sorry, I forgot to turn my intro off, but I always do that. I don't know why. But no. Tesla Ranger, I have a serious question. Because it seems like you might. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to some Kent now that we have some fresh drinks. Actually, we didn't tell people what we were drinking. Well, you did. I'm drinking some whiskey ginger ale. And what do you have now as your new drink?
Since I ran out, now I have a
Synergy
Cosmic.
Raw Kombucha. Or Cosmic Cranberry. Okay. Fair enough.
It's quite delicious, I bet.
Well, let's hope so.
The last time I had, every time I've had this flavor, it's been good, but I haven't had this bottle yet. So
Tesla Ranger, I'm not fluent either, but I'm brushing up as other people are learning, and I think the amount of Klingon will probably increase as the game goes if we actually play it. So, but I think it'll be interesting to actually have an opportunity to have to talk in Klingon in the context of a game where we're all Klingons, and I might actually go into Blender and design a new Klingon ship or something. I think that would be fun. So, Bent doesn't drink, so no, it's not alcoholic. Oh, actually, the rocks were there. It's right there. Show it off to the camera.
it's a nice thin book.
Very easy to read.
It's only what is this? 600. Oh, I think, what is this? the bibliography or whatever.
Yeah, it gets into
It's like
appendices
200
and
pages.
bibliography. Yeah, the bibliography is like 200 pages on that. Because R.J. Downer
It's
is
like-
all about the sources,
it's
and
like-
so is Jackson.
Yeah. See that? And there's more.
It's an amazing book. I can't believe how much work went into that book, and it looks like I'm gonna be referenced. So Fernando, I'm not gonna try with this last name. I'm sorry, Fernando. I don't even know where to begin. It says Dapper Dino plushies. I don't even know how to go about making that a thing. And the problem is right now, I'm a bit too small to have things that aren't made to order. Because if it's made to order, then I don't get an inventory I'm stuck with. And I don't know that I can do made to order plushies. So that's probably out of the question for now. So people have also suggested plushies of various organisms from the Speculative Evolution Project. Unfortunately, that's also probably out for the same reason. I can't afford to have... Oh, Katakai? I mean, that might be it. Katakai? I'm not sure. You know what, Fernando? Put it in the chat. If you can, an International Phonetic Alphabet. If you can't, just approximate.
About don't make a
It's
graven
cake
image.
cakes.
Their 10 commandments skip commandment number 2, and they take commandment number 10 and split it into 2 commandments to make 9 and 10.
Or, since they've been doing this longer than you, maybe you take commandment 1 and split it into 1 and 2, and you take commandments 9 and 10 and lump them together.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Which really was 1 commandment.
How do you know?
Why wouldn't they want the real one in there that says don't make a graven image?
It's talking about the difference in the numbering of
Yeah,
the
but
commandments.
like he's making stuff up.
He's not, actually. This is actually true. So, I'm actually going to drink, because technically he's right. So,
Okay. I don't think he's right.
Protestant churches usually take, thou shalt not, I am the Lord thy God, you shall have no other gods before me, and the, thou shalt not make any graven image of anything on earth or in heaven, and split them into 2 commandments, and take, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, or property, depending on your translation, and they tend to combine those into a thou shalt not covet commandment. So, it's sort of a matter of interpretation, but I think Kent is going to go on here about graven images, and we'll see what he has to say there.
Their church is full of graven images, okay? So, back in the...
Yeah, but Kent, so was the Temple of Solomon. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Temple of Solomon had statues of bulls, it had paintings of angels, it had statues of pomegranates. There were paintings and statuary all over the Temple of Solomon, according to the Bible. And also, Moses himself, in Exodus, made a statue of snakes in order to help heal people from snake attacks when they were wandering around in the desert. So, inside the Bible itself, the prohibition on graven images cannot simply be a blanket prohibition on any paintings or statues depicting animals or whatever. That might be the way to go in Islam, where there's actually a pretty strong prohibition on such things. But even then, in other certain places historically, it hasn't been that strong. You can, in fact, find Islamic art that depicts various animals and people and stuff. But it's much less common. But, yeah. The same book in Exodus has Moses commissioning statues of snakes.
1400s, if you committed certain sins, you could pay money to the priest and be absolved, get your sins forgiven. If you robbed a church, you'd have to pay $2.25. Here's the list of what they had to pay to get out of their sin.
I don't know where he found these numbers, but I am... press X to doubt is basically what I'm saying about these numbers.
If you burn a house, you got to pay $2.75. If you kill a layman, $1.75. If you forgery or lying, $2. If you eat meat in Lent, $2.75. If you ravish a virgin, $2.
I'm sorry, but I have a hard time believing that robbing a church carried a lower penalty than eating meat during Lent. I'm just gonna point it out. I really doubt that the Catholic Church thought that stealing from them was a bigger deal, or wasn't as big a deal as you eating meat during Lent. I just have to say.
If you strike a priest, $2.75, same as burning a house. Robbery, $3. A priest that keeps a mistress can do so if he pays $2.25, okay? Procuring an abortion is $1.50. Murder of parents or wife, $2.50. You can be absolved of all crimes by paying $12. That's
Buck Mayfair. There you go.
What's the way to describe that?
X's.
Stupid?
Yeah.
Is that the best way to
X
describe
down.
that? Okay.
All right, so here's something, right? I agree that the system of basically paying for indulgences, which is what he's talking about, was pretty stupid. And you know who else agrees with me? The Catholic Church. They've also said, yeah, that was pretty stupid. We shouldn't have done that. You can still get an indulgence from the Catholic Church. You just can't pay for it. There are certain pilgrimages you have to do, and there's a whole bunch of requirements, and it's going to cost you money, but it's not really going to get them much money.
I'm not anti-Catholic, okay? I'm for truth. I'm against error.
And you think Catholicism
That is error
so
to say
you're
paying
anti-Catholic.
money pays for your sins.
Well, except, yeah, the Catholic Church agrees.
And it's error to say burning a candle pays for your sins. And it's error to say, priest, Father, I have sinned, and would you please absolve me of my sins? That's error. The Bible says the blood of...
The Bible literally commands Christians to confess their sins to one another. You know that, Kent, right? That's in the Bible. It says to confess your sins. It is. It says to confess your sins to the elders. You know what the Greek word for elder is?
Surprisingly, no, I don't.
Oh, it's presbyteros, which is, in fact, literally the etymology for the word priest. The word priest is ultimately derived through Latin from presbyteros because the Bible uses that in Acts and other parts of the New Testament for Christian clergy in the early church. The Bible literally says, go to your priest and confess your sins to him. It's in the Bible.
Jesus
Never heard of
Christ
it,
cleanseth
Kent?
us from all sin, nothing else. So I'm not anti-Catholic. I'm simply for truth and against error. Keep that thought in
And you
mind.
believe
Here's a
the
picture of the
Bible's
Pope
truth, but
kissing
then-
the
Yeah.
Never mind.
Quran. The Catholic Catechism in our library out here. You can read it for
Yeah. You know what?
AlimsAss.com.
Here's the thing, right? I'm going to take a drink because I actually sort of... Yeah, Balaam's ass. That is it's kind of funny. That's referencing
funny.
to the donkey, I believe. But anyway,
Yeah, but it's fun.
I will actually take a drink for how stupid it is for the Pope to kiss the Quran. It is stupid. It's not your holy book. And while I'm not here to convert people to or from any religions, let's just say this. If I were to be forced to kiss various holy books, it would be very low on the list. And for $5 from Vandali 1998, we have, if no one has translated the Bible into Klingon yet, maybe Bent can. So I don't think the whole Bible has been translated. I know there is a Bible translation project.
Wow.
So,
Right.
well, hey, Bent, you can now read Hamlet, The Taming of the Shrew, The Art of War, and Gilgamesh in Klingon.
I can.
Well, it can be done. Those are books that are available to be purchased.
Yeah, because I don't think I can do that.
Well, you could if you had a good enough dictionary and a firm grasp on the grammar.
Yeah, I could try.
yourself. Some of the things they believe are pretty interesting. They say in the Catholic Catechism, 841, the Church's relationship with the Muslims is the plan of salvation also includes those who acknowledge the Creator, the first place among whom are the Muslims. These profess to hold the faith of Abraham, and together with us they adore the one merciful God. There's an excellent little bitty comic book called The Prophet you can get from our ministry. It's like $2 or something like that.
Okay, hold up. I know about this comic book, and it's stupid, so I'm about to take a drink. This is a chick tract that claims that the religion of Islam was a conspiracy created by the Pope for some reason. I've read this thing. It is the worst historical quote-unquote scholarship you can imagine. It is just it's basically just a parody.
By Jack Chick. He goes through the history of the Muslim church and how they started. Very few people realize it was the Catholics that...
Dokuda N, who, by the way, I don't recognize your name, so welcome, I think, for the first time, says he's basically doing, I'm not anti-Catholic, but... Yeah, it's the exact same line as, like...
My friends were Catholic.
Yeah, he's basically saying, I'm not racist, but says something extremely racist. And then it's like, oh, but don't worry, I have black friends. I'm like, okay. Do you though? Or do you have black acquaintances who every once in a while you're okay with having in your house?
My dog is black.
That's true, your dog is black.
Started Islam. They started the whole religion purposely
There it is. The
to try to get the Holy Land back for the Catholics. They built up the Islam, they funded Muhammad, they trained him, they sent a Catholic nun out of the monastery. They said, we want you to come out of your convent, go find a young, promising Muslim, marry him, and train him to raise up an army of Arabs to go take...
You can't go find a Muslim who doesn't exist yet if you're claiming that this is how... Oh my goodness. And are you saying that Khadija, Muhammad's first wife, was a nun? Because no, she was a wealthy woman who owned a caravan business that she inherited from her late husband. I'm taking a drink. Like, look, it's not hard to learn Islamic history. It's widely available for free in English and Arabic, often both at once, on the internet. This isn't tricky, right? The only Christian monastic that you get early on in the story of Muhammad is, what's his name? Now I can't remember his name because I'm having a bit of a brain fart. But basically, it's Khadija's cousin, who was almost certainly a Nestorian monk, who was a scribe, because it says that he used to write the scriptures in the letters, in the Hebrew and Greek letters or something like that. Oh, there's Godzilla. Right? And he basically said, oh, hey, Muhammad, I can tell you're a prophet because you have a giant mole on your back. And Muhammad was like, okay, yeah, sure, that works. But then every time he would go without a new quote-unquote revelation, he would climb a mountain and try to throw himself off until Gabriel had to talk him down. And that's how the story of Muhammad starts, basically. I mean, I left out Laylatul Qadr, which is probably the most important part, but from that point to basically the Hijra, that was Muhammad's time. He was being convinced by some monk that the mole on his back made him a prophet, that he wasn't demon-possessed, so then he went around preaching in Mecca, and then eventually, when they got sick of his crap and they kicked him out, until then, he was periodically going up to a mountain to try and kill himself. Muhammad, guys.
Back the Holy Land for the Mother Church. Quite an interesting story if you want to read about that. It started to work, but then it failed because Islam got so big, they said, well, forget you Catholics, we're doing what we want.
Icarus makes a good point. But Dapper, he could have learned all of evolution in the 30-plus years he is misrepresenting it. Why would he learn anything about the history of Muhammad? I mean, fair enough.
Right.
That is fair. I mean, I spent probably 5 or 6 years researching Islamic sources about history, theology, read the Quran a few times. I own like 3 of them. I own a manual of Sharia law. I've gone through extensively and read not every hadith, every hadith, because there's like 18,000 of them, but a large section of them, the ones that get cited in Islamic theology manuals most often, most reliable ones. Yeah, I actually did the work to learn about Islam. Why would Kent bother with that, right?
Kent already knows all the
And I don't think most Muslims, which is now, what, 20% of the world population, Islam, I don't think most of them know that they're really started off as a front.
Okay, so it's Qatakai. Qatakai. All right. Awesome. Well, actually, I actually really appreciate that you bothered to actually get the IPA down. Thank you. Almost no one ever does that. So,
I was wrong. It's not Kate Cakes.
Oh, it really is said as just X, so it's Potakikes. Sorry about that. But, no, thank you very much. I'll take hikes. All right. Awesome.
For the Catholic Church. So let's cover just a little bit on Muslims. Ask the Muslim, how do you know Muhammad was a prophet? They'll say, well, he had a mole on his back.
Oh, hey, I was right.
Holy moly.
That is actually true.
That's how you know
that
he's
was
a
joke
prophet.
and no one laughed.
Oh, it was a joke. Oh my goodness, we get to drink twice because Kent was kind of right.
Okay.
So it's not so much that that's how Muslims say that they know that he was a prophet. They usually point to things like the alleged linguistic perfection of the Quran, various ways that Islam is very internally coherent. Sometimes they point to alleged scientific accuracies in the Quran. They'll usually say that they'll allege that certain passages in the Bible predicted Muhammad, things like that. The mole was actually how Muhammad was convinced that he was a prophet, not so much how everyone else was convinced. So it's not quite right, but it's almost right. So I gave it to him, right? You got a mole?
Just scratching my chin a little bit.
Oh, are you sure you don't have a mole there? If you do, you might be a prophet.
I'm not sure because I can't see this part of my body because the rest of my face is in the way.
You should just hold a camera at it and take a picture.
So how could I possibly see whatever might be right here?
Is it big and hairy though? Because Muhammad's was.
That's what she said.
Because he's got a mole on his back. I've got a mole on my back. Got one right here on my cheek. Man, I must be a double prophet.
He's a prophet because of
Albert, you got any moles?
And false because he keeps lying.
Wow, bow down and worship Albert, you know. In one of the Muslim verses says, Muhammad asks the question, when I am dead and buried in the ground and go back to dust, is...
Okay, hold on. We gotta double check on this. So it's 1966, huh? All right. Because I don't trust Kent. Quran.
What a year 1966 was.
1966. Okay. 1966 through 68. Okay. And the disbeliever says, when I have died, am I going to be brought forth alive? And Kent says, Muhammad asks, when I am dead and buried in the ground and go back to dust, is that all what will happen to me? Okay, so that was Sahih International. Or that was one version of Sahih International, or no, yeah. Let's see if we can get a different version for 1966. Sahih International, it is Sahih. Come on, need different or a different version. These are all the exact same link. LegacyQuran.com. I changed the okay, let's get Pickthall. Let's just get a bunch. Yusuf Ali, Shakir, Dr. Ghali. Okay. And man, the disbeliever says, when I am dead, shall I be raised up alive? Pickthall. And man saith, when I am dead, shall I forsooth be brought forth alive? Yusuf Ali. Man says, what? When I am dead, shall I be raised up alive? Shakir. And man says, what? When I am dead, shall I truly be brought forth alive? And then Dr. Ghali says, the man says, when I have already died, will I indeed be eventually brought out alive? So, there is no English translation of the Quran that I say would meet this. I have no idea where he's getting this. I can see how it's kind of vaguely similar, but no one has interpreted this as Muhammad asks. And actually, I'm going to double check. Let me go back to that. Quran 1966. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let me this over here. So here's the word for that we're getting the man translated as. So it definitely does not say Muhammad. It says An-Nasun. An-Nasun. So yeah.
Al-insanu.
Oh, is it Al-Insan? Oh, it is. I forgot the stupid mom thing there. Al-Insan. Yeah, not Muhammad.
الإنسان.
Yeah, wrong. My
So I
Arabic's
just
a bit
did a
rusty.
Google search for, quote, Muhammad asks when I am dead and buried, end quote. And it says, it looks like there aren't any great matches for your search.
Yeah.
Which Google, who gives me 650,000 matches every time I search for anything. Yeah, nope, looks like there are two results, but I think they're
Oh, drink for Godzilla.
people who gave presentation on this actual lecture.
Yeah, now let's take a look at what it actually looks like when Muhammad is written in Arabic. Okay, so we've got the meme, the ha, another meme, and a, what is this? Dude. There you go, that's the name of the letter. Sorry. Like I said, my Arabic's a bit rusty. I did ace it in college, though. Yeah. Muhammad. Muhammad. Yeah, that's what Muhammad looks like in Arabic. Now, it's a bit fancy and calligraphic. That's not how it would look if you just typed it in like a word program. However, that is the typical way it gets put. And even a lot of Arabic fonts will actually, if you just type Muhammad, and initially it all looks like the normal thing, they'll actually condense it into this. So, oh, Mothra J Disco. We'll drink for Mothra J Disco. Mothra J Disco says for $1.99, just stopping by. Wear a mask, y'all. Yes, wear a mask. If you're home, sure, take your mask off. I'm not wearing a mask right now. But the only time I go outside without wearing a mask is when I'm transiting to and from the pool. That's it. I wear it to take out the trash. I wear it to the store. Every place else. The only time I don't wear it is if I'm going to the pool. And if I get near anyone, I start holding my breath. So I don't want to inhale their weird germs. Not if I'm going to the pool, just because I don't want to have to put the mask on with all the bleachy, chlorine-y water and then have to wash it and everything. Plus, I usually go to the pool during times of the day when no one's around. For that reason. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go. Let's get more Kent in. Now that we've double-checked his translation.
That all? What will happen to me? Muhammad himself had no clue if he was going to heaven.
Oh, it's... you're right, it's dull. Oh, goodness. I don't know why I'm not brushing up on my Arabic on Duolingo. I'm so freaking rusty on it at Arabic. It's... I'm even worse with my Hebrew. I mean, don't even ask me about Hebrew at this point.
I won't.
This verse in the Quran says, when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it set in a pond of murky water. Would that be scientifically accurate to say the sun sets in a pond of murky water?
Kind of, if you think that there's a large wall of water at the edge of the universe, you swear word.
I will say, though, yes, if you interpret the Quran literally, like you might interpret the Bible literally, Kent, it says stupid things about science.
I would say the earth turns around and the sun, appears to go around the earth. This is not scientifically accurate. The Quran has loads of scientific errors. It's not a holy book.
It's not a science book.
Allah commands any person who leaves Islam. Many things have been found.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
What just happened?
They left out the second one.
What?
About don't make a graven image.
Oh no, I accidentally clicked the wrong spot. Now I have to watch the actual VOD. Where were we? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna make this big. Give me a second, guys.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I'm being a dummy. Okay, we're at 2372 left or so. Oh my goodness.
What, did you go backwards?
Yup, to like the very beginning. We go to like 20...
Fourth one, they have what they call convenience marriages. You can marry somebody for 15 minutes and then divorce them.
Yeah, muta is a thing that is still extant in Shia Islam. Sunni. Shia or Sunni? No, it's Shia Islam. It is not accepted.
You only need 10 minutes.
It's not in Sunni Islam. And while, yeah, it does go back to a saying of Muhammad, the Sunnis say he canceled it. The Shia said that he didn't. And yes, it is hard to distinguish temporary marriage from prostitution in the long run.
What if you
So you
only
can have
need to be married for like 5 minutes?
That is a thing in
Or
Shia
like-
Islam.
What if it's like only for 3 minutes though?
That's also a thing in Shia Islam. So in Shia Islam, mut'a is a practice of temporary marriage where what happens is you write a marriage contract with an explicit timeline on it. And of course, because in Islam, during marriages, you pay the bride money. You pay her the money. And then at the end of the term of the marriage contract, both parties can consent to continue the marriage indefinitely. But if either party opts not to, then the marriage is terminated with a divorce. So, basically, it's a way to have prostitutes without having prostitutes.
Pretty smart.
Yeah.
All the concubines you want. Oh, I was only married 15 minutes. There's no law against that. That's their law that says you can do that.
It's not a universal law in Islam, and those people wouldn't actually be concubines, because for the term of the contract, you actually have to treat the person as your wife, which actually means you have to provide them with, like, lodging and food that they need during that time. But of course, if they're just visiting your house for the course of the hour or two that you're quote-unquote married, and you give her enough food to eat for an hour, technically you've met that thing. But if on the other hand you're just some homeless guy who can't give her a roof over her head, technically you're not allowed to marry her temporarily. It's technically the case. Islam actually does have legal requirements for male partners in marriages.
No. Volume 1, it says...
Also, you can't have more than 4 at once. So you can't have as many as you want. You can only have 4 at a time. I guess you could serially marry as many women in a muta marriage as you want in Sunni Islam. Or, sorry, Shia Islam, but it's...
Says, Abu reported...
Abu Huraira? You could call him Abu Huraira. It's a thing you could do.
When any of you wakes from sleep, he performs ablution. He must clean his nose 3 times. For the devil spends the night in the interior of the nose.
Yep, that's an actual hadith. It's also, the volume is Sahih Muslim, not just Muslim. You can't just cite it as Muslim. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick drink.
Yeah, I get it.
And I get it. If you're not a Muslim, it's crazy and weird that you know this. But hey, spoiler alerts. You know how I know a lot about Christian history and theology? I also know a lot about Islamic history and theology.
I thought you were asking, and I was going to say because you studied it.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, I've spent years studying both of these things. I actually know a fair bit about them.
Good Muslims will get up in the morning, suck water into their nose, and blow it back out 3 times. That's got to hurt.
I don't know, maybe.
Why?
Why don't they just
Well,
blow
because the
their
devil
noses?
lives in your nose.
'Cause that's what that's talking about it.
Well, it is using
That's
water.
fine.
The idea is actually the perform ablution is perform wudu, which is actually a ritual cleansing with water.
It's not what I just read.
Okay, but I'm telling you that's what's actually there.
I wouldn't do that if I were Muslim. I would just do what that said and blow my nose when I wake up, like I do now.
But if you were a Muslim, you would have to be referencing back to the Arabic, which does actually explicitly mean
Oh, so
water.
Kent's lying about what it says again?
Well, no, maybe. I mean, he's using some translations that I don't really care to check because it said ablutions, which is the usual English translation for wudu.
I don't know if he's earned the benefit of the doubt
Well, here's the thing, right?
from the quotes he's done.
Here's the thing. A perform ablution is the normal English translation for wudu. So I'm willing to just go with it because it's exactly what I would expect as for an English
Also,
translation.
Tesla Ranger says, look at neti pots, Kent.
Good
I mean,
point. By the way,
checkmate theists?
check with the medical literature around neti pots before you use them. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
While you're sleeping, the devil
Good
crawls in. That's what they teach, okay? Baqarah Volume 4 says that Satan stays in the upper part of the nose.
Baqarah. It's Sahih Bukhari. It's not even what you have written up there. It's not Bukhari. It's Bukhari. And it's not Baqarah in any world, Kent. If you're going to start talking about Islam, have learned the first thing about it. My goodness, I'm taking another drink. Honestly, I did not expect this to go into Kent spouting nonsense about Islam. But I'm honestly offended on behalf of the Muslims, which is not something that happens to me very often. Dokuda and says, "What's wudu?" So, unless I'm mispronouncing it because I don't remember it well, it is the various ritual ablutions that are performed before the various daily prayers. So the washing, it's mostly washing of the face, hands, and feet. But it can be more generalized into various washings for ritual purposes.
All night. Well, guess what expression we get from that? The boogeyman. Right? The boogerman.
Oh, that was a joke.
Abdu reported the Apostle Allah said, people should avoid lifting their eyes toward the sky while supplicating in prayer. Otherwise, their eyes would be snatched away.
I love how the citation here is the Hadith. Which Hadith? From which Hadith collection? It's the Hadith. And also, I don't actually believe this one because while I don't remember all of the various poses for prayer poses in Islam, I'm pretty sure some of them involve looking up. I have been to a Friday service at a mosque. Well, I guess it wasn't a dedicated mosque, but it was still a Friday service for Islam. So, yeah.
If you're praying and you look up, your eyes will be popped out of your head. He reported non-Muslims eat in 7 intestines while a Muslim eats in 1. Is there a biological difference between non-Muslims and Muslims? Do non-Muslims have 7 intestines?
No.
You studied anatomy, Adam. Is that in there? They're pretty much the same. If you do an autopsy, I bet you'd find they're the same.
Yeah, fair
Don
enough.
Boyes, my
I'll
friend
take
up
a
in
drink.
Chattanooga, Tennessee area,
Right.
has written a great book called Islam, America's Trojan Horse. His website's fabulous too, CST, Common Sense Today, news.com. You can read about more about Islam. He's really received some flack for even writing the book. Okay, what about Mormons? What do they believe? Are they a Christian religion?
On to
Joseph
Mormons,
Smith
huh?
said, I see no faults in the church, and therefore let me be resurrected with the saints. Whether I ascend to heaven or descend to hell or go to any other place, if we go to hell, we will turn the devils out of doors and make a heaven out of it. Where this people are, there is good society. What do we care where we are if the society be good? Joseph Smith didn't know if he was going to heaven or hell, by the way. God made Aaron to...
That's not what that said. It said, no matter what happens to me. That's the actual interpretation there.
Kent Hovind doesn't know if he's going to heaven or hell.
Well, he'll tell you that he knows. Oh,
Yeah, he has an idea, but I'm willing to bet he's wrong.
Dessel Drace points out, watch the autopsy of Jane Doe. Bent, you've seen that.
Yep.
Oh, do you also recommend?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Also, I was reading up on, because I don't remember all my anatomy, but you have the duodenum. This is the intestines, right? The duodenum, the jejunum, the ileum, and then you have ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, cecum. Yeah, that's 7.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it depends on how you describe it. Small intestine, large
But
intestine, you could do it in
Wouldn't
twos.
the non-Muslims also have the same number of those things?
Yeah, and people, I mean, in general, people have the same anatomy.
Does your anatomy ever change because
for
you
the,
change
for the
religion?
intestines? No, it can change if you someone had, I forget the reason why, it was an athlete, it was Brett Favre. He had some kind of issue with his intestines. I think it was a car accident. He had a bunch of his intestines removed when he was in high school.
Oh, so here's a story.
So that kind of thing can happen, but it's not because of your religion, Kent.
So well, he was actually disagreeing with that, to be fair.
True.
So
Yeah.
So we'll
Still
give
blame Kent.
well, fair enough. But there was a story actually from a few years ago about a British woman who got one of those, those smoking drinks where they put a bit of dry ice in there. You ever heard of those at bars where they put a little drop of dry ice in the drink to make it bubble and smoke?
Right.
Well, she drank the dry ice.
That's not the smartest thing to do.
No, she had to have her stomach removed.
Yeah, she probably should have induced vomiting right away.
Yeah, even then, it's not clear that would have helped. But the
Couldn't have hurt.
bartender, she asked the bartender, "Hey, is this safe to drink?" And he just shrugged and said, "Yeah, I guess so." So she downed it. She got a lot of money from that bar.
I bet.
Yeah, and I'll bet that bartender doesn't have that job anymore. Man, can you imagine telling someone that and then they have to get their stomach removed? I don't know how I would live with that. Like, oof,
Yeah,
man.
that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Be a
Type in the chat that we're gonna... Oh, I guess we're back. So, guys, because my internet is just cutting in and out for no apparent reason, and it's not just YouTube, it's actually my Discord too. My internet provider is not Comcast, it's actually Cox. But I'm gonna see you guys later. We're gonna call this a little bit early. If one of my mods could link in a chat the after show with Gutsick Gibbon, please let me know, or please do that. I'm going to be over there. Quick channel news. Going to be a video premiere this Thursday. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be Noah Zookeeper the movie. So feel free to stop by for that. It's like 2 hours, so set aside some time if that's what you want to come do. Then Saturday, it's not Saturday. We're pushing the stream to Sunday. So we're doing a stream on Sunday. Sunday, I'm going to be talking to Mr. Batman, who is like Turbo Kent. So, yeah, get ready for that. I will have updates on the D&D campaign and the Star Trek game as they come. We've already done a lot of the world building. I'm now going to be doing stuff like designing a specific kingdom, some NPCs, bad guys, good guys, neutral guys, whatever. So yeah, head over to Gutsick Gibbon, and if you haven't subscribed to her, subscribe to her. Like, seriously. If you're not subscribed to Gutsick Gibbon, you're missing good content. And also, I just watched a video of hers I hadn't seen today about hepatitis B carrying macaques in Florida. By the way, if you catch hepatitis B, you're probably going to be dead in a week. Don't catch hepatitis B. So, thank you for coming. Especially a special thank you to all my super chatters, including Vandeli1998, Bentovens, T. Lane, Ari Virathaler 92, not 1992, Ian Chen, and Mothra J Disco. I'll talk to y'all later.